Hey fam, I want you to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Roland S. Martin. And don't forget to turn on your notifications. Well, now a group of over 100 black political leaders in Virginia have released a statement today calling for an investigation into the allegations and if proven true that Fairfax should resign. On this same group, Virginia Black Politicos and Friends called on Governor Ralph Northam and Attorney General Mark Herring to resign over involvement with blackface as young adults. Now, but if they don't, which seems more and more likely every day, the group has a series of very specific steps they want both men to take. Here to break this down is Charlottesville City Councilman Dr. Wes Bellamy, a leader of the Virginia Black Politicos and Friends. Councilman, welcome to Roland Martin Unfiltered.
Thank you, good brother. I appreciate you having me.
So first and foremost, Governor Northam has made it clear he is not resigning. He says he's now going to focus on the issue of racial equity for the rest of his term. Attorney General Mark Herring has not made any moves to resign. What is it that you specifically and the Virginia Black Politicos and Friends, what do you want both of them to do?
Well, again, thank you so much for having me. Really honored to be on the show. There are a variety of different things in which we are specifically looking for. And I also want to be very clear with you that we are still calling for the resignation of both Governor Northam as well as Attorney General Herring. What has also become abundantly clear, as you stated, is that the group, or both men, have stated emphatically that they are refusing to resign. While we've heard that from Governor Northam and Attorney General Herring has said that in so many ways as well. So what we've committed to, and it's not just myself, as you alluded to, it's a group of black politicos and elected officials and community leaders from across the Commonwealth. We are calling for action behind those words. It's not enough just for him to apologize. It's not enough for him to just say, I'm sorry, and I quote-unquote want to lead this discussion on race and equity. We believe that it is him exercising his white privilege and stating that he wants to lead a conversation and discussion about equity and race when he's the one who had blackface on. So he's not qualified to do that. In fact, he needs to listen more than he talks right now. So there are a variety of different things that we're looking for. One specifically, we're looking for Governor Northam to create a business equity fund to help boost and support minority-owned businesses with an emphasis on African-American-owned businesses. We're calling for Governor Northam as well as Attorney General Herring to meet with African-American and indigenous stakeholders from across the Commonwealth, and he has to apologize in person as well as listen to how deep the wound has been spread open from his words and their actions. We're also calling for both of them to emphatically call for all Confederate monuments, the statues, to be removed from public spaces throughout the Commonwealth of Virginia. Both men, in so many different ways, have tiptoed around the matter, and we're calling for them to straight up and down say and encourage their friends in the General Assembly to do so. Next, we're calling Next up, we're calling for we want to underscore and endorse the request of Brown, Virginia's call for the creation of a governor's commission on African-American families. And the purpose of that is to advise the governor as well as the General Assembly, as well as work directly with state agencies to improve and expand existing policies. And then one of the items that's been getting the most attention, Governor Northam raised nearly $36 million in his campaign. So in his election campaign. So we're looking for him to raise nearly $25 million and provide all 5 of the historically black colleges and universities in the Commonwealth a $5 million grant, or raise the money however he so chooses to see fit. Those 5 institutions, Virginia State University, Norfolk State University, Hampton University, Virginia Union University, and the Virginia University of Lynchburg, all 5 HBCUs, deserve to have compensation from this gap. It's not enough, again, for him to say that he's sorry. He needs to put resources behind his words. And then there's a litany of other things where we're talking about items in regards to looking at how he can more boldly stand up against white supremacy and just be an individual who puts actions behind his words. There are a lot of people calling for reconciliation and healing, but there can be no reconciliation without reallocation of resources. And I think it's also important for us to note, while we have included vehemently and made a clear stand in regards to the governor as well as Attorney General Herring, we have also included in our demands, or in our press release yesterday, we included statements and acknowledged the situation going on with Lieutenant Governor Justin Fairfax. We are watching it very closely. We have stated emphatically also that this man, Justin Fairfax, deserves to have due process, while also acknowledging the fact that the women who have accused Lieutenant Governor Fairfax of these very serious allegations deserve to be heard. But we have a judicial process, we have a legal process that both Mr. Fairfax as well as his accusers have called for. So let's allow that to play out without passing judgment. So essentially, that's that, and we're calling for the entire Commonwealth to join us tomorrow at 5:30 p.m. in front of the governor's mansion for our official protest. The governor was scheduled to have a Black History Month celebration, in which after our press release, he's canceled. Everybody got the email today, but we're still calling for everyone to come out tomorrow, and our voices will be heard.
All right, Councilman Wes Bellamy, I appreciate it, man. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, sir.
All right, folks, let's talk about another sexual assault allegation, this time against A.J. Calloway. He has been suspended by Warner Brothers as host of the TV show Extra. This suspension comes as multiple women came forward with sexual misconduct allegations against him. 2 women came forward with similar allegations last year and last month. Calloway was suspended Saturday just before The Hollywood Reporter was set to publish the new allegations against him. Calloway is denying all of these claims and is looking forward to clearing his name, according to his attorney. I want to go back to our panel. So I want to talk about this story as well. And so, one woman filed a complaint with police in December, and then you have several other allegations. Warner Brothers say they did an investigation, and they found nothing taking place on the show, on the lot, things along those lines. And so, again, what jumps out, Scott, I ask you is, allegations are made. What it comes down to is, how do you prove it?
Well, you prove it through documentary evidence. You prove it through interviewing what we call third-party witnesses. That is, if the woman was sexually abused in some way, how soon did she tell someone, right? Because the timing lends itself to authenticity. Did she go to the hospital? Did she take a rape kit? Did she tell? How many people did she tell? And then is there any physical evidence on her body that shows that she was either bruised or assaulted in some way? These are really sensitive cases. You know, it's troubling. I believe deeply in the Me Too movement, but these allegations that are coming out against these men, I just wonder whether, you know, men have been pursuing women and wanting to date women or even sleep with women since the beginning of time, if you will. And is the Me Too movement creating a platform for women who either didn't like being pursued or may have done something they didn't want to do, not necessarily against their will, but maybe not physically against their will, but mentally against their will?
So I'll give an example. So Salah Abrams, who is a domestic violence activist, I know Salah, she's also an author. Now, she accused A.J. Calloway of sexual assault in 2006. At the time, he was arrested, but the case was dismissed on procedural grounds. And nothing else came forward from that. And so she made a statement saying, quote, "I was disappointed to read the false, when the Hollywood Reporter reported her story. Calloway said, "I was disappointed to read the false allegations about me in the Hollywood Reporter. As I've maintained from the beginning, these allegations are not true. When I was first notified about these allegations by law enforcement more than a decade ago, I fully cooperated from the beginning, and the case was dismissed." And so, again, from a legal standpoint, Spencer, I want you to weigh in as well. How do you deal with if the allegation was made and then no charges were filed, case dropped, but then the allegations are still made years later?
Yeah, it has the taint of unfairness, quite frankly. These cases are tough. When we would get these cases in, we look for corroboration, right? We also look at the character and the criminal history of both the complainant victim as well as the one that's being accused, right? And credibility is super important in the courtroom process. And if we find that there have been other allegations by the same person made against this individual or other individuals, that goes to credibility. If we find that she's got a criminal record or the accuser has a criminal record of some sort or has anything that would affect her credibility in court or being by the grand jury, or if it even gets to a jury or even a judge, the other side can make hay of, then it's tough for us to bring those cases. How much evidence do we have? How credible are both people? And you know what? In the end, it's a judgment call, and it's a discretionary call.
And again, Spencer, in the 2006 case, Shalai Abrams reported that he tried to force her head onto his lap and masturbated after placing her hand on his lap. And then another woman said, Daily Beast reported, one woman said that Calloway had lain on top of her after a party at his home and repeatedly tried to open her blouse and pull down her skirt. She said he tried to place her hands on him while he masturbated. That was in the New York Times. And so, again, when you take these cases, what we're dealing with is if most folks who don't even understand this, you have a criminal side,
right?
You have a civil side, and then let's just be honest, you have a court of public opinion side.
Right. Whether it's politics or whether it's just, being a celebrity or whatever. And one issue with the celebrity piece is that there's not necessarily recourse in terms of a false allegation because of a heightened standard in terms of defamation when you have public figures. So when you have public figures, people have more freedom basically to say things that may or may not be true because of basically the legal standard. They have to know
that it's untrue before they can be civilly prosecuted.
Right. So now this other piece though, Scott, I think there's an argument that would be made by some that, hey, we shouldn't attack the character of women, right? I think there's this argument that just because a woman has done something improper or whatever doesn't mean that she's not entitled to, the benefit of the law, protection
her
of the
sexual
law.
history is irrelevant, and it is for the prosecution. It should be for the defense as well. I wasn't talking about her sexual history. I was talking about whether she's brought claims before that have been dismissed, whether she's done TROs and they've been granted or people against her. Stuff like that goes to credibility.
Malik, final comment before I go to the next story.
Just to your point about, we know that these cases are tried in the public. And this is exactly what we're dealing with now. Whether it was Kavanaugh, whether it's Fairfax, any of these cases, they are tried in the court of public opinion. And we have, and to your point about the Me Too movement, I do think that we need to be mindful of that. When these sort of accusations come about, it doesn't matter on which side of the political aisle you're on. There are people who will be accused of these things, and we have to look at them, each case, apolitical, and make a decision, a determination whether or not we believe them.
But can you look at it in an apolitical way? I mean, isn't politics caught up with the Kavanaugh piece, et cetera? I mean, what's interesting about this latest piece is that you've got two big Democratic factions in terms of women and in terms of black folks are really kind of in different spaces in terms of this particular.
And if you look at those two groups in comparison to where they were with Kavanaugh, I would say that there's a difference in where they are. And even I would go further to say that that Christine Blasey Ford was depicted or talked about in ways that the two black female accusers have not been.
Yeah, but I think in all seriousness, Kavanaugh was different in this regard. That sure, we believed Dr. Ford, right? But what women and Democrats were really upset about was that the Republicans' refusal to investigate and find out whether he was an alcoholic or drank too much and whether he actually committed this act or not. He may have still been elected to the Supreme Court after that investigation. It would have been a tougher vote for the Republicans, but he may have. And I think that incensed people that they didn't care.
And so what you have is you don't have a political party, Republicans or Democrats, fighting an investigation when it comes to Fairfax. And so I think that is one of the issues there. I do want to ask y'all about this here. Of course, Ralph Northam, the governor of Virginia, saying he is going to go on a listening tour of Virginia, which is sort of weird because prior to being governor, prior to being governor, he was lieutenant governor. So it's not like you're not aware of the state. And of course, one of the first places he's going to go is HBC-You, Virginia Union, in Richmond.
How arrogant of him. That's white privilege. How can he, who wore blackface and was comfortable in that environment?
Now, hold up. So he said, that wasn't me in blackface or in the Klan hood.
But here's the problem.
But it was his page.
That's right.
And then, and according to the yearbook, the students submitted their own photos
I got
to their
a response
page.
for you, right? Whether he's right or wrong, what he told you in the first instance when he conceded that it was him and then said it was wrong shows you that it could have been him. And that he believed it could have been him.
First of all,
and so therefore,
he
the
has,
admission lives.
and then, of course, he said he's going to hire some investigators to find out who was on his page.
No, we're going to find out that he was the Klansman. That's what we're going to find out.
Now, don't you think there's going to be a conflict between administrators and students? Like, when you go down there, the administrators are going to be like, cool out, let's just get this money. Right. And, like, the students are just going to be up in arms talking over him, etc.
And that's the thing that I think that Malik, that's important. Because look, y'all probably saying, because I recently spoke at William & Mary College in Virginia, so I did their MLK program there.
Wearing
so I
their
told,
shirt today.
calm the hell down. So I told him, I said, all right, I'm gonna wear your shirt on the show. But I've probably spoken at now 50 plus HBCUs. And I've spoken, and then many of them are public HBCUs.
So you've earned that shirt.
And I've earned all the shirts out there. But here's what's interesting. And I've been in that position, being a speaker, when you're critical of state officials, especially whether they're Republican or Democrat, but especially when they're Republican. But when you're critical of state officials at a state university, and they are dependent on state funds. And so what you're going to have here is Governor Ralph Northam going to a public HBCU where the president and the administration and the board of trustees have to go to Richmond in order to get increase in funding. That's, I mean, and that's really, so yes, to Spencer's point, the administration's going to be like this here.
Welcome.
And the student's going to be like, getting that ass.
Right.
You know, so this thing with this.
And if y'all want me to moderate the listening tour,
that would be awesome.
I'll be happy to ask a few questions.
You know, this whole idea of the tour, I'm assuming he's talking to whomever his team or experts or whomever.
They ain't black.
You know, well,
soft audience too.
I would imagine. You know, but one of the things that, you know, I was talking to some friends about this, you know, as we talk about racism, as we talk about blackface and what these sort of things mean, you know, I wonder, and I haven't looked it up myself, but I wonder, as far as Northam's history, you know, I didn't realize, you know, he was a lieutenant governor, but as far as his history in the state, do his policies match what we assumed to be his racist history? You know, outside of the blackface, as far as his policies, what have his policies been in the state of Virginia throughout this time, and have they been advantageous to blacks or not?
And this is where the nuance is critically important, because when you look at the polling data, where 58% of African Americans say he should stay, I keep trying to explain this to people, and especially to a lot of white Republicans who don't understand. Black people are extremely astute at politics. And what black people are saying, they're going, okay, hold up. Nah, his ass wore blackface. He did number 1. The Attorney General wore blackface. He did number 3. I absolutely believe, had the allegations against Fairfax not come up, it would be 75% say Northam ass gotta go. But black folks are going, now wait a minute. Now, the number 1 got issues, the number 2 got issues, number 3 got issues, and the number 4 in line is a Republican. Black folks went to the polls like crazy. Not only that, Northam had an issue because there was a pipeline in a black community that Northam was not against. Fairfax was against it. As a result, Northam, or a group supporting Northam, took Fairfax's photo off of a flyer saying who we should vote for, who we should support. He got criticized for that big time. A lot of black folks are like, I don't know about Northam but massive turnout for Fairfax. I think black folks in Virginia are making a political decision by saying, we are not going to hand the state house over to a Republican because of the issues with these 3. What they're saying is, bite the bullet, bite my tongue. I'm going to tolerate you. But the flip side, you can only serve governor for one time in Virginia as well. I think that's the nuances that happen in Virginia.
That's a pretty sophisticated processing.
And black folks,
the average voter,
but black folks,
average voter
not
doesn't process
true. Not,
and intellectualize their voting like that. They simply do not.
No,
you
Scott.
give them way too much credit.
No, I'm not.
They don't understand
I'm not.
blackface.
No, I'm not.
They don't understand blackface.
That's black.
Hold up. Say it.
Yeah.
Say
if
that.
You look at black folks crossing over.
Say that.
Vote in the Republican primary.
Sustain.
Vote for in Mississippi. Right. For Thad.
Okay. So everybody at home.
So that the the conservative, extremely conservative person wouldn't win.
So everybody at home.
Tea Party guy.
Thad Cochran got into a runoff about 3 years ago, and this was the choice. You had old Thad Cochran, Republican, or you had crazy, deranged, racist Tea Party Chris McDaniel. Black folks are like, okay, now Democrat not gonna win.
Right.
We gonna have Republican or racist Republican. Black folks crossed
to vote for
Thad Cochran. They said we gonna keep that bigot out.
Yeah.
Black folks are that sophisticated, and those numbers were not small.
And these people, and when my mother was one of those. Never voted for a Republican.
Your mom was a Republican too?
No, my mother was one of those who crossed to vote for Thad Cochran. She was one of many because Chris McDaniel was the who was running against Cochran was that much worse. You have to consider that in Thad Cochran's case, he had been the senator for 40+ years or something, so they were very familiar with him, but they did cross over to vote for Thad Cochran. And what people don't know, what the favor, if you will, that Thad Cochran returned that people don't talk about is that he was one of the votes for Loretta Lynch.
Oh, hold on. No, we talk about it. We talk about it because I, along with Jeff Johnson and Jamal Bryant, led a group of almost 200 black men to the Capitol to knock on those doors to specifically go talk to those Republicans.
Wow.
And we went to Thad Cochran's office. And his staff asked us, because we literally had about 30 of us in his office. They asked us to step out in the hallway. We said no. They said he didn't have time to meet. We said we ain't leaving. Then there was another group of women, and one of them was a black woman. And the black woman said, oh, well, we have a 15-minute appointment with the senator. We'll give them half of our time. Wow. The white girl at the desk said, no, you can't do that.
You can't do that.
No. So we said, we ain't leaving until we see Senator Thad Cochran. And then probably about 20 minutes later, they were like, these black men ain't leaving.
Roll them out.
They were like, okay, so we're going to go to the conference room right down the hall. And then shuffle Thad Cochran, Pelican ears. And we sat there, and I think we periscoped it. So y'all can go find us on Periscope. And we said, I said, now, Senator, let me remind you, you are only here because of black people. You would have lost. So we fully expect you to vote for Loretta Lynch, or we gonna come back. And he said, I've already made my decision. He says, I'm not gonna reveal it. I said, well, you're not gonna reveal it, but we fully expect you to say the name yes to Loretta Lynch, because if you don't, we gonna be back. So let me remind you again, you are only here because black people crossed and voted for you.
And he voted for it.
Oh, yeah, he did. Because he was damn sure not going to have 200 black men come back to his office if he didn't vote for the sister. That's what happened.
You may be right. My analysis may be limited.
No, shocker. Shocker, really? You don't want me.
Right about
you walk right into that one. You ain't want me to start on that one.
But Spencer actually got that one in. Spencer brought the Mississippi in.
He go on CNN and talk about how black folks don't really have the sophistication.
That bullshit will work at CNN and Fox News. That ain't gonna work here.
What's the next topic?
That ain't gonna work here. That ain't gonna. I'm letting you know.
Many topics.
Let's
just move on.
Try with them white TV anchors.
Here we go.
That's right. Don Lennon might fall off that one, not me. Not me. I'm just saying.
All right, folks, back to our Roland Martin Unfiltered video in just one moment.
All right, folks, calling all HBCU alumni, students, and leaders. Enter the Ford Motor Company HBCU Mobility Challenge and win $25,000 for your school. Building on their long-term support of HBCUs, Ford is looking to improve mobility in HBCU communities through innovative solutions. The winning program will receive a grant of up to $25,000 to implement their proposal. The deadline to apply is March 31st, 2019. Go to FGB.Life. That's FGB.Life. That's the website right there. FGB.Life for more info and to apply. That's for Scott, who sometimes can't pay attention. Ford goes further in our community.
Now back to your Roland Martin Unfiltered video.